Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 824 with our review of Wuthering Heights. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week in the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we're going to have two reviews for you. We're going to have this review of, I forgot, quote unquote, before I said Wuthering Heights, but it's going to be this review of, quote unquote, Wuthering Heights. And we're also going to have a review of Nirvana the band,
Nirvana the band, the show, the movie,
which should be fun to talk about. But yeah, right now we're going to get into that quote unquote. And we're going to talk about Wuthering Heights. But before we get started, Stephen Miller, have you read any of the quotes or the unquotes or any version or seen any version of Wuthering Heights in the past?
Yes. So I read Wuthering Heights in an AP English class in high school. And I remember hating it. It was sandwiched between books that I quite liked, like Moby Dick, which I actually loved reading in English class. So it wasn't just like I didn't like older, longer novels or things like that.
Yeah.
But there was something about it to me at the time, you know, as this, whatever, dumb 16-year-old boy, where I was just like, this is so bland and boring, and it felt very dry. And like, I know now that that is kind of intentional, you know, it's this look at kind of miserable people, but at the time I just hated it. I think it was my least favorite thing we read in English class that year. As a part of reading it, we also watched the 1992 version of the movie starring Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Binoche, about which I remember pretty much nothing except for the look and feel of the moorland, you know, like the rocks on the hill and kind of the gray landscape behind it. So it feels important to say, like, I have zero loyalty to the source material. I don't remember it, except for remembering that me as a teenager didn't like it. So I went into this having, like, no expectations of how faithful it would be, except, like, maybe hoping it wouldn't be faithful, because I vaguely remembered not being into the faithful version of it. How about you?
So I also did, well, I didn't read anything. I didn't read any version of it. I didn't watch any version of it. And, you know, usually when we're in these kind of situations, I've at least absorbed through osmosis some aspect of the story through culture. You know, whether it's something that's been, you know, aped in other things or, you know, referenced over time. I didn't even know the name Heathcliff.
Oh, wow.
like I had heard the title Wuthering Heights, and I knew it was something people had read, but I couldn't have named for $1 million one of the characters in Wuthering Heights before, you know, I knew the film was coming out and I knew that people were going to be in it, right? So I haven't seen any film adaptations. I haven't read any versions of the books. I haven't, you know, before sitting down to record this, I hadn't read a synopsis of the story at all, or run through anything. So I went into this film completely blind. And we're going to find out whether that helped or hindered me in my watching of this film. Who can tell? But
yeah. I'm curious whether you liked it.
Yeah, I'm also curious whether I liked it or not.
I do feel the need to say I am sure Wuthering Heights, if I were to read the novel today, I would mine it for much more than I did at the time. So I'm not trying to be contrarian and say, like, fuck that book. I'm saying 16-year-old me had zero allegiance to it.
Yeah.
Just want to underline that.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems like from what little I've kind of heard, people who did have allegiance to it are not exactly that fond of this film. So anything that we say, positive or negative, is not necessarily in the context of an allegiance to that film or that source material one way or another.
Yep.
All right. Well, Stephen, ready to get into it?
Ready.
All right. Let's take a look or maybe a listen to the trailer for quote unquote Wuthering Heights, and then let everybody know what we thought about this film.
What should you do, Heathcliff? If you were rich?
Suppose I'd do what all rich men do. Live in a big house. And be cruel to my servants. take a wife.
A wife? What wife?
Heathcliff. You're not enough. Not for her.
Mr. Lincoln asked me to marry him.
Heathcliff is gone. You must accept it.
Why did you leave me?
Why did you betray your own heart?
Where is the obstacle?
Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same.
I will not stand for that fiend. I will not have you near her.
Did you think it would stop me?
So kiss me. And let us both be damned.
All right. So that was the trailer for quote unquote Wuthering Heights. It is about some kids that met when they were younger, and then they may or may not have fallen in love when they were younger, and then they grew up, and then they had their own paths in life, and then, they're sort of, I guess, want to be star-crossed lovers according to the way this film wants you to believe. But they also had different paths in lives that led them away from each other, and then, they have their own fucked up circumstances that cause them to be kind of wicked towards each other. And then, there's just a story of their little war against each other and against everybody in their lives, I guess. Steven, what did you think about Wuthering Heights?
So this movie was getting totally trashed by critics leading up to watching it. And so I want to start by saying, maybe somewhat contrarian, I did not remotely hate this movie. I thought, stylistically, at least for the first half, this movie kind of rips.
The opening of this film, like the smash, like the opening kind of fake out of this movie, I was like, fucking, we are going. This is going to be
I was strapped in. I was strapped in for this movie, and I actually stayed strapped in for quite a while. So first of all, should we just have an agreement that we can vaguely spoil what happens in this movie? Because Wuthering Heights is if I want to talk about how she changed it from the novel and everything, we have to talk at least about the fact of star-crossed lovers and other lovers that happen in the future. Do we do that? Do we not do that? How do you feel?
I
think we should just let this be a little spoilery. I won't spoil specific Emerald Fennell twists that are movie only, but we can. It's like Romeo and Juliet. We can talk about the template of the story.
Yeah, I mean, this film definitely sets this up as it does a Babe Ruth thing where where it explains to you how Romeo and Juliet works, and then points out and goes we're going to do Romeo and Juliet one way or another, basically. Yep. So we can at least say that.
So the first half of this movie, by my vague recollection of the book and the other film I have seen, makes a lot of changes, right? Because it is trying to do the Babe Ruth thing. It is trying to be how can I turn this into an actual love story of sorts, which the book isn't really. The book is about longing and yearning and kind of fucked up allegiances and people being miserable, but it isn't really about us swooning and wishing that Heathcliff and Catherine would get together. And so Emerald Fennell decides to make this movie open with more kind of emotion and heat. I think there's much more like trauma bonding in their relationship at the beginning. The abuse is seen in much starker terms. It's really meant to be like, look at these two people who wound up in this very difficult, fucked up, I need to protect you from the horrors of the world situation, and how that might both turn into love and also make love feel unnatural or impossible. And I thought all of that worked totally well. I was fully on board for this movie in their childhood and even as they grow up into adulthood, and the pining between Catherine and Heathcliff. And like, I was here for it. Like, and I think this movie is like oozing with style. Like, I would never deny that Emerald Fennell does not know how to shoot a movie. She can make a kick-ass music video. We were joking before recording about the Charlie XCX score as like explosions in the sky, you know?
Yeah.
I was all fully in the tank for that. Like, every time the music would start playing and we'd be like panning like across the landscape and stuff, I would be like, hell yeah, inject it into my veins. I'm fucking here for whatever this is.
And even like when we were just watching the trailer now, I was like, yeah, that looks like a romantic movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like, and there's something about the look and feel that I really enjoyed here. Like the scenery of the moorland with the wind and the world behind it that looks like it's like a painting or something. There's a like a fakeness and a hyper real gothic thing to it that reminded me of Poor Things almost, in a way that I like enjoyed. I enjoyed that I felt like I was watching people in this weird theatrical universe that has nothing to do with our own one. Like, I was really vibing with this movie for a lot. And I think the biggest crime of this movie is the director. It's like she wanted to stake out her own claim on the source material. And then in the second half, it's like she has to still make it be the original story. And so it goes back into this like spirit where everything sucks and everything is miserable and people are really cruel to each other. And it's like she slams that into the style of heartfelt, yearning romance in a way that lost me a lot. Like, I think this movie goes fully off the rails in like the last 40 minutes or so. Basically, the moment two characters romantically reconnect, from that point on, I felt like this movie does not know what it is anymore. It doesn't know what story it wants to tell, what it wants to make us feel. And then it just becomes a kind of like mixtape of trying to be 50 Shades of Grey, but also trying to be like dark and unsexy. And it's like doing too many things. And I feel like it just is very, very confused. But I was riding the high of the style and like the commitment that all the actors have to these characters. But I didn't walk away hating it. I walked away being like, okay, that was a goddamn thing. Whatever it was, you know, it certainly wasn't boring. So I don't know. I remain interested in seeing what Emerald Fennell will do next, even though now I feel like 2 movies in a row I'm seeing a lot of style and very promising openings that then it seems like she doesn't totally know how to wrap up into a satisfying story. So how did you feel about your trip to the Heights?
Yeah, so there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, for me, the biggest crime of this film is that this is the next thing we see the kid from Adolescence in.
Yeah.
Because like the idea that like he makes Adolescence and then the next thing we see him in is this film is.
But his part of this movie fits perfectly with who he is, right? Like I feel like his part of this movie is almost unimpeachable.
But I just think that like this as an overall work,
sure,
it is peachable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would peach it.
But you know, that's just what I'm going to say. I think the best performance of this entire film is young Kathy. Mm-hmm. I think that character her performance, and I think this is her first thing she's ever done, but like you see her, or maybe just IMDb is shitty at presenting the UI.
No, I
is just
remember
terrible.
looking up and also feeling like she was a newcomer.
But like her, you see in just the first moment that she sees Heathcliff, you can automatically see her obsession in that character and infatuation with him, and just the way she acts. Like, you get that she could have a lifelong obsession instantly from the beginning and have a longing for him. She just has some sort of characteristic about the way she plays it, and I'm like, okay, cool, I buy it. She's fantastic. I whatever she's doing, whatever the direction she is getting and her ability to do it, I'm like, she's nailing whatever she's supposed to be doing right now. I buy it. And then it just smash cuts to their adults, and I'm like, you're not even going to give us moments of time over some amount of time for us to see them grow as two people falling in love as they become adults who can understand the love that they're going to build. I assume this is supposed to be a story about longing, and we skip the long of the longing. Like, we just smash cut to them adults having a conversation about how, like, new people move next door. Maybe I'll go marry that person. And it's like, I'm like, what am I even watching? You yada, yada, yada over them building a lifelong connection that is going to be the thing that makes me care about who this couple is. And instead, you smash cut to they are adults. And the first conversation we have is her going like, well, we're poor and in this tower that is in ruins. Some rich people move next door. Maybe I'll go marry the son of this family so that way I can be rich too. And Heathcliff is like, well, that's kind of shitty. But also, I just had a conversation about how if I was rich, I would take a wife that's not you. So I can't really complain about that. And the whole story is about two people going like, well, if we were rich, we would marry people that are not each other because we're not rich. So that's fine. And like the entire story is that conversation. And, you know, you said that this film isn't boring. The story is boring. The filmmaking style is not boring. There are lots of things that are beautiful and evocative, and just like, you're watching this thing and you're like fucking the smash cut to the hanging at the opening shot of this film, the fucking flesh wall, the leeches, the blood red room. Like, there's so many things, like, the hillsides, the like the fog, the rain, the like everything. There's so much visual, interesting stuff in this film, just like all the lavish stuff, like the cakes, the dollhouse, like so much stuff in this film is visually interesting. There is no story in this film that is interesting. There's nothing that I care about. There's everything that would make me care is yada 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 over, and the characters are just self-inflicting every single bit of everything. And then, you know, like I get the idea of like the basic premise of the story is there's two characters that could be together if they were in a different social status, right? And one of them gets a chance to, you know, it's that old chestnut. One of them gets a chance to go off and be rich and leaves the other one behind. That one goes off and gets rich and then comes back. But this film does a weird thing where, like, Heathcliff comes back rich in theory, but we can't really tell that. He comes back in nice clothes and he shaved his beard.
That is basically the novel too. I think the mystery of where his wealth came from is, I might be totally wrong, but I think that is one of the strange things about it. Is like, what the fuck? Did he really get successful, or is he like putting on a persona?
But that's fine. But in the novel, I assume there is something to make it look like he, like, even if he stole or did something in the novel, like even if he like came about it by some nefarious means, I assume in the novel he is able to actually acquire things with money. In this story, he comes back with a shaved beard and one nice suit that is the only suit we ever see him in, and he supposedly buys the family's home. But as far as I can tell, it remains in squalor the entire film. It's never cleaned or made better in any sense of the word. He just lives in it, and it's sort of made to be part of his torture of, like, I just never understood whether this is just the visual aesthetic the director wants to present, or if the character literally can't make things better. Like, there's just so much confusing stuff in this story where I'm like, is this just an oversight, or is this part of the narrative, or is this a problem? Like, is this a loophole or not a loophole? Is this a plot hole? Is this an oversight, or is this a part that is just aesthetically there for a certain choice? And it's like, I never understood whether you're trying to be Tim Burton or if the character literally can't fix the problems of the house that he is trying to take over, you know, like, so it just, for me, I just was watching this film going like, what am I watching, and why do I care if these characters can or can't be together?
Right.
What does it matter? And then there's a little, like, in the middle of this film, a character decides to be like, oh, I can get you back now. And I'm like, and then I sit forward in my chair. I'm like, this is going to be great. I'm totally on board with this movie now.
Whoa, Nelly.
And yeah, like, literally. and then it's just like, you're not even doing anything with this interesting. It just becomes a thing where the film thinks it's being so provocative, but like, it's really not that. It's not that, like, oh, like, I'm not even trying to clutch the pearls that I'm not wearing. I'm just like, this is just, it's kind of silly, and characters are even winking, but it's like, I don't know if I'm supposed, like, who's trying to be shocked in this scene? Like, the only characters witnessing it are winking to each other. So who is it for? Like, I don't,
Right.
who is, like, the audience isn't being shocked. I think we're supposed to think it's funny, but then the characters who are witnessing it are
Are we talking about Isabella and Heathcliff?
Yeah. And I couldn't understand what I was supposed to think at any given moment. And it's like, I guess I'm supposed to have read the book, so I know why things are happening. And
I mean, it's a big deviation from the book.
Okay.
The book, I don't know if you got a lesson from Jamie afterwards, who I assume has read it. The book has a whole other, like, second generation.
Yeah. There's like
the book
multiple
is so
generations.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't disagree with most of what you're saying, though I think the movie lost me later than it lost you. For me, I am fine with yada yadaing over their teenage years, their young adulthood, and just smash cutting to we have this thing, but we can't name it, and we don't even know what to do with it, but clearly we can't ever be together. I don't know why. That shorthand was perfectly fine for me. I just assumed there has been this, like, unnamed pining that took place all of those years, and because that, I agree, the actress who plays young Kathy is, like, probably the best performance in the movie, and she shows this kind of precociousness where she, because of, you know, her father and her upbringing and the world that she lives in, she doesn't know how to express love for someone other than by, like, being shitty to them.
Yeah.
Right. And I fully believed that she grew into this, like, stunted adult character who is, like, still pining, but doesn't even know what it means, doesn't have the words for it, isn't maybe mature enough to metabolize her feelings. And so she's still just going on autopilot into, like, this is my shitty, annoying brother type character who makes me feel tingly, but I don't want to think about why, you know. And for me, I was totally fine with that smash cut. I feel like Margot Robbie, in my mind, has not been a human in a performance in quite a while. It's just like she's launched into the stratosphere that is, like, different than being grounded people in movies that I see her in. But for this, I am fine with a, like, twisted Barbie. She's basically a weird Barbie, you know, in this movie. And I'm totally fine with that. I also think Jacob Elordi makes a good Heathcliff. You know, if what he needs to be is a cipher who is, like, brooding and you believe that he's hot, but also has the capacity for evil and deep mistreatment, he's basically just taking the Euphoria character and, like, running with it. And I'm all good for all of that. And, like, the filmmaking of the moments with Edgar and the seasons passing by and the set dressing and all the stuff you were describing, I was like, yes, give it to me. But for me, like you, I think, like, when this tries to be anything resembling a relatable love story after that, it it just fails because I don't want these two people to be together. I don't care that they're not together, you know, and I don't think Emily Bronte wants them to be together. I don't even know if Emerald Fennell wants them to be together, but she definitely wants us to have the tingles of movies where we want people to be together. It's like she's trying to borrow tones from things that would make this more of a Romeo and Juliet, you know? And I find that very confusing. I would say, though, on the provocative side, I think there is another interesting relationship here if the movie were willing to explore it, which is Isabella and Heathcliff. Specifically, Isabella and what does she want out of life? You know, who is this kind of dolled up, strange person who like expresses massive admiration and maybe has like a queer attraction, you know, that she doesn't know what to do with Catherine. And then we have these two people who are just sinking to the bottom together because they're lovesick and so nothing matters anymore and they're just gonna turn it into kink. Like that could all be interesting. And I thought the scenes with them were like, I felt mildly uncomfortable, you know, in the sense that I knew the movie was still going to make me want Heathcliff to get something he wants by the end. And I'm like, this dude is being a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. But
we'll talk about Pillion, you know, in another one. You have not seen it yet, but you know, we're going to have some similar thoughts there.
Yeah. But there was a funny, like, it is handled in a way where it's like, he is being forthcoming about being a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And like, he's asking for consent and he's like, I will be a piece of shit.
It is modeling consent for sure.
Yeah. So there is an aspect of it that is kind of, it's played for laughs in a way where it's like, will you consent to being used for the sake of hurting another person?
Right.
Is that okay with you? Yeah. So
like the way I see it, the reason the story is boring in the second half is because all it is taking one idea and just extending it. And the idea is you can do anything, you can be successful, you can try and try and try, but you will never fill the hole of the one that got away, right? Like that's fine. That is a template in all sorts of stories and movies, but we hit that point so early in this movie, and then every behavior of Heathcliff from that point on is just showing that over and over and over again, and the lack of change is what's boring. I think
the real reason it's stupid to me is it hinges on a message of communication, which you have proven in all the other scenes of the film is not required, because you can use a different kind of communication, which you've been doing repeatedly throughout the film, which is being in person.
Yeah.
And it's like everything hinges on the lack of the ability to be in the same room together and pass words. But you've been passing fluids constantly. So it's like, why do I care about this missed communication? Because the intermediary is fucking with the situation, and everything can just be like dealt with by you just walking into the room, which you have done repeatedly over and over and over.
Yeah, I don't think of it as miscommunication. I mean, I do the one moment, right? There's like the pivotal moment early in the movie when Catherine decides to marry Edgar, you know, and what could have been, right? That is the moment when everything breaks because of a conversation. And I feel like the rest of the movie is just saying like that original sin can never be undone. And from that point on, Heathcliff is just like fully resigned to the fact that his life is ruined and meaningless and he'll be lovesick forever. And from then on, he's just like an archetype, basically. And I think like the sex is meaningless. Everything is meaningless after that point. It's just watching the world burn because the thing that should have happened didn't happen. Like the one got away. If that makes sense.
I just think that if he thinks a letter can change a single thing, maybe just try talking to her.
Sure. Yeah. I 100% agree. The letter scenes are dumb.
You've proven that you can sneak in through a window or through a secret passage. or through a carriage window or whatever. Like, the idea that everything hinges on a letter being received by a person and then being willing to open it is the stupidest fucking construct in the world.
To me, that part of the movie is where it has really gone fully off the rails, because it is trying to turn it into, oh my gosh, he can't get her back. And in my mind, I'm like, we all knew he couldn't get her back 45 minutes ago. Why are you showing us this last-ditch Hail Mary to get her back?
It's not, though. It's literally only trying to compare it to the story of Romeo and Juliet, and that the letter is the most important portion of it. So it's literally just trying to mirror that story. And it has to be through letters that the inability of a letter to arrive is the whole thing that everything hinges upon.
Right.
And it's just trying to rhyme, and that is the only thing it's trying to do, because it thinks that is a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
so
I don't buy any of that for a second. Like, that is where I was just very annoyed with the movie, because it's like, this isn't that story, you know? Even by your own telling up until now, this is not that story, you know? Yeah, so fully agreed. I hadn't even thought about how it was trying to rhyme with Romeo and Juliet, but obviously I knew that the ending is rhyming with Romeo and Juliet, but the letter as a medium I wasn't thinking about.
It just, like the whole time, like, that's why I was getting so annoyed. I was like, please don't write another fucking letter. I was about to put up an order card at the Alamo and be like, tell him to stop writing letters.
And then Nellie takes your order card and throws it in the fireplace. Yeah, no, I can't deny that. This is where I was only coasting on the goodwill of the vibes of the movie, the style of the movie, to be like, okay, this train went off the rails. Yeah, but whatever. No one can take away the first hour from me.
The other thing that's funny is so Kathy, when she sees the new people next door, and she's like, I can't believe that gentleman caller hasn't gentleman called me yet. I'm going to walk down and see what the business is over there. Right. So she just walks down and then, peeks over the wall and falls. And instead of being attacked by dogs, I think was what happens in the books, she just like sprains her ankle, and then he comes, and, the rest is history. So clearly it's within walking distance, right? You can just walk down there, pig's blood be damned, or whatever, or maybe I'm confusing two different scenes. Anyways, it's walking distance, right? But later on, it's like a full day's horse ride to get there.
Right. Yeah, if I recall correctly, it is somewhat far away in the book, but I don't remember. It's far enough that it is like a journey. But this is kind of like Pride and Prejudice times, where it's like places just seemed kind of far away for some reason.
Yeah. It's like the one stairwell in Mario 64, where it's like, if you're going the one direction, it's like forever, and you turn around, you're immediately back down to the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
Good times.
What a movie. What a picture.
Any last thoughts before we get to verdicts, Stephen?
No, I think we've done this movie justice.
All right, Stephen Miller, I think it's time to get to our quote-unquote verdicts for this film. If you were going to give this a must-see, record with the caveat, wait for until past the caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I'm debating how contrarian I want to go here. Because it would only be a response to how much this is getting savaged by critics. Fuck it, I'll be a little contrarian. I'm giving it a recommend with a caveat. I think the filmmaking, the aesthetics of this movie are pretty brilliant for a lot of the runtime. I think it's an interesting experience. I don't think there are a lot of people operating at the budgets that Emerald Fennell is getting to operate in that have this like idiosyncratic look and feel. And I was here for that. I also like the attempt at taking what I remember being a rather stuffy, at least to a 16-year-old, source material and turning it into something that I imagine a 16-year-old would watch and at least have strong feelings about. Like, there are things that I like about this movie, but it is a big old whopping caveat that I think this movie like completely doesn't work in the final 45 minutes or so. Like, it doesn't know what story it wants to tell. You don't know how to feel about characters, and I think that is a fatal flaw in the movie. But as a grand experiment, an extended music video, a whatever you want to call it, like, I was at least entertained the whole time. So I know my bar for recommend with a caveat should be higher. This is very much me responding to everyone being must avoid-ish in their description of this movie. I think this has things that make it entertaining to go out to a theater and catch. And so I do think it's worth doing that, even if then you come back and tell everyone all the ways that it failed, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah. For me, I gotta bounce the scales of Steven. I'm gonna give it a pass to the caveat, but the caveat is things like Margot Robbie flesh wall.
Brilliant.
Basically all the set design in this film, and just like a bunch of the shots are really, really interesting. None of the characters are interesting. There is a single solitary performance that is interesting, and that is the child version of Kathy. I just don't. There's not a lot about the story or the characters to promote for me in this film. But yeah, if you can just turn off the sound and just watch this film.
No, have the sound on. You gotta have that.
Sorry,
Charlie
if you can turn
store.
off the dialogue, you turn off the center channel for this film, and just
if you can watch this movie on Netflix and have the audio dubbed in another language that you don't understand.
Yeah, if you can just have the breathing and the music,
Yeah.
then this film's probably great.
I'm down for it.
Then I'll swap to a recommend with a caveat as well. All right. With that note, I think we'll wrap this episode up. Stephen Miller, people want to find you for that the week. Where can they do that?
People can find me at Blue Sky or Threads at sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or ChristopherIRL on a number of social platforms. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com, where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at twitter.com/spoilerwarning, facebook.com/thespoilerwarning, or instagram.com/thespoilerwarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hope you're enjoying that. And that is this episode. As we said at the beginning, we are about to go record an episode of Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. So get ready to listen to that. All right. Talk to you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.